It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know.
News update.
This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NBA.
Yeah, it's that third year that really gets me. If you were to do a 2-year deal in that $60 million range, something around what we expected given what they could afford financially after getting Peyton Watson, I might have been okay with it. Paying him over $30 million in his age 39 season seems very, very irresponsible to me. Obviously, his playoff track record speaks for itself. I'd be very scared of how that contract is going to age. I kind of chuckled to myself when I saw the trade kicker because nobody's trading for that contract. 3 years, $97 million for somebody who turns 37 next week. I just think that's a little bit irresponsible.
CBS Sports' Sam Quinn talking about the James Harden contract. Overpaying people seems like a problem, and he clearly seems overpaid. The playoff track record, yeah, they've been to a conference final. They want to get to an NBA final. Is this the guy who's going to ride? Mitchell, Mobley, Harden, Allen, and Sam Merrill out of Bountiful High School in Utah State are the 5 guys under contract for that 28-29 season, which puts them in $200 million. Now, right now, the second apron is $20 million. You'd have $20 million for the rest of the team. Will it go up the next couple of years? Yes. Will they have $30 or $40 million to build out the rest of the team? Doesn't seem like that's good enough. Philadelphia, just this coming year. Philadelphia, New York, Boston, Miami with Antetokounmpo. How many of these teams can they beat in the playoffs? When are they going to run into one of them? It looks like Cleveland is caught in what I like to refer to as the NBA cul-de-sac. You're going forward, but you're not going to go very far because it looks like there's homes in the way. What are you going to do? I think you're going to back up and you're going to start over. And I don't know if you noticed, but the Jazz spent 4 years backing up because they got caught in the NBA cul-de-sac. And it's super easy to do. There's a traffic jam in the NBA cul-de-sac. There's a lot of traffic there. I can't believe the Knicks made it through. I thought they were jammed up in the cul-de-sac, but they made it through. And they got to Titletown. But the path to Titletown is complicated. It's a maze. But it's amazing when you get there. Oh, why isn't PK here to witness this kind of greatness? All right, that's about enough out of you. Part 1. Lakers minority owner Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong not selling his 4% stake. I learned yesterday reading a story, 3 minutes of my life I can't get back, 3 minutes closer to death, nothing to show for it. Don't know why I read that story. I learned more about the Raiders' minority owners. I don't care. I don't care who the minority owners are. The majority owners, they're the ones who make the decisions about hiring, firing GMs and coaches and whether big-time free agents get big-time contracts. So those are the people I care about. When the then Padres owner, Peter Seidler, said, hey, $200 million payroll? Ha! We're going over that. We're going way over that. That's the kind of stuff I care about. I mean, great for Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong that he is sitting on $15 billion, but he's 4% owner. He doesn't decide what happens. And now it's news because he's not selling? Okay, fine. They were trying to figure out how Jeannie Buss could stay as a governor. I don't care if she stays as a governor. She's not going to stay as a governor. The team's been sold twice now. We got 2 new owners since the family sold. It's just a matter of time. And now we know exactly what Bob Iger meant when he said, I'd like to work with her, but, we'll see what happens. And we're like, well, dude, you either want to work with her or not. You're either going to fire her or not. Oh, he knew the other kids were going to sell and that by NBA rules, she couldn't be the governor anymore. And he had no say over that because he's not selling part of his team to get her back to a 15% stake. Okay, now I get it. All right, that's about enough out of you, part 2. The Sacramento Kings. You guys can be a mess. That's fine. Somebody needs to be a mess. It might as well be you. I feel bad for the people of Sacramento. I worked in Sacramento. It's a good fan base. They show up. They spend their money. They cheer. Like everybody else, they want their team to win. And they get very little of that. So I feel bad for the fan base. But as far as the organization, wow, what a clown show. What a bunch of crazy mistakes they make. I like that they fill up what is trending because they seem to fire a coach every 3 weeks, so it gives us something to talk about. That's good. But now we got the ex-Kings trainer filing a suit alleging pregnancy discrimination. Hey, Kings, you have messed up a lot of stuff. But really, a trainer who's pregnant, you can't just let some, just let people live their lives, let it be. Why does this have to be a thing? Just stick with drafting the wrong person and firing the coach too quickly. Just stick with the mistakes you know. I'm about to break into waterfalls. I'm really close. I'm going to let out the inner Beyonce here if I'm not careful. Don't go chasing waterfalls. Don't go chasing pregnancy discriminations. Stick to the rivers that you used to know. Stick to firing the coaches you used to know. All right. The NBA's second apron claims yet another victim. Could the Nuggets cost-cutting eventually cost them Nikola Jokic? Quietly, Nuggets star Nikola Jokic can become a free agent next summer. Who writes this stuff? Did you write that, or is that the lead to a story and somebody else wrote that?
That's the lead.
So that was plagiarism. It was bad plagiarism. Quietly, Nuggets superstar Nikola Jokic can become a free agent. Nothing quiet about it. It's still your way. I've read that 10 times. Joker to the Lakers. If Denver does something great and puts together a great roster, he'll stay there. He's wasting his prime there. He's a very smart basketball player. He is well aware of the shortcomings in that roster and in that team. And there's been tons of speculation. He's friends with a certain European player who plays in Los Angeles for the Lakers. Can the Lakers put the Joker together with Luka Doncic? And what would that look like? Well, it might be terrifying for the West. All right, DJ and PK.
Hashtag NFL.
Mendoza play fake, and he throws one over the middle. It's picked off. Here we go. Across the 40, the 50, it's Woodhouse. The 40 of the Raiders, the 30. Mendoza trying to chase him down at the 15, 10, 5. Rock and roll. Does he get in? Yes! Touchdown! Officials checking the sideline, and
to
Woodhouse.
the house.
Yes.
Yes. It was play action play and went through my progression. Probably should have checked it down to the flat. Saw the flat player relate to him. And at that point, I started backing up and threw the check down to Mike Washington, and it was not a good throw. We weren't on the same page, and it was a interception.
And a pick six. I just can't stare at Fernando Mendoza and just think, okay, you're the number one pick. You're going to come in. You're going to be awesome. You're going to light the world on fire. He's going to struggle. He might end up being really good because I'm old enough to have watched John Elway struggle, and then he went to 5 Super Bowls and won 2 of them. Yeah, he figured it out. But he lined up behind the guard. The dude is lost, literally lost. Typically, if you want the ball and you're the quarterback, you line up behind the center. John wasn't clear on that in the middle of a game in his rookie season because everything was moving fast. But back-to-back Super Bowls, legend, Hall of Famer. And not the only guy who struggled. Troy Aikman was 1-15 and just getting the stuffing beat out of him. And then he won 3 Super Bowls. Peyton Manning was a mess as a rookie, throwing interceptions all over the place. And he went to 4 Super Bowls and he won 2, and he's a legend. And I'm not old enough to remember Jim Plunkett. Well, okay, I am, but I really don't know much about it other than it happened. Plunkett won a Rose Bowl and a Heisman Trophy and then got drafted and washed out. I think he was on his 3rd team with the Raiders when he figured it out. He didn't do anything for the Patriots who drafted him. And he won 2 Super Bowls. It's been going on forever. Give him time. Of course he sucks early on. He was great at Indiana. Yeah, and the defense was great. I think they gave up like 11 points a game last year and were 2nd in the nation. Of course they went undefeated. Give him time. We'll see how it plays out. More bad people, players, fighting, Giants, Dolphins practice. More bad people. Cowboys Saints fined $500,000 for brawls in a joint practice. $500,000's pocket change. Sounds dramatic. It's close to nothing. About $500,000 away from nothing. Saquon Barkley. I hate joint practices. Apparently he gets chippy and likes to start fights. Like he starts it and then he gets out of the way and lets the old lineman do it. He'll get his licks in. I just don't understand the fighting. What are you doing? And I saw some coaches come out and, 15-yard penalties, and we're going to kick guys out. Maybe that's why we're having so many fights. Maybe guys are like, I don't want to be in this thing. I might as well get kicked out. I'm a vet. I'm okay. I got my roster spot. They're paying me. I'm going to start. Vita Vea dismisses any trade talk. He got his extension. He says they want to be a buck for life. He just wanted his money, and now he got some more money. Troy Aikman on the Cowboys' playoff failures. It starts at the top. That's true. It's not big a shock. It's just a shock to hear it come out of Troy because Troy is a Cowboy lifer, and Troy loves a lot of things about the Cowboys and the fan base and the people in the organization and the owner, and that he would go right at Jerry That's, I think, what's catching people's attention. For someone like me to say it, yeah, so what? I don't have some lifelong relationship with Jerry Jones. Troy does, and he says it. And it does start at the top because you're hiring all the coaches and you're making a bunch of the personnel decisions, including on draft day and free agency. So, yeah, absolutely it starts at the top. DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football.
I had a couple people bring to my attention that there may be up to hundreds of players who are released here in the final NFL cutdown day, which comes Sunday, August 30th, that could somehow find their way back to colleges. They have to cut down to 53 by Sunday, August 30th. Some of those, depending on these judges' rulings, now will look to go back to college because colleges will pay. There will be players who have choices to make. Do I go to this practice squad where I can make this amount of money, or do I go back to college? If they go back to college, then colleges have to cut players to make room for the players that were just in NFL camps competing for NFL jobs. And again, I know we're in the time of a wild west in college sports, but this is something that is transformative and will shape two different sports with players leaving from the NFL to go back to college. We've heard of it going the other way, but it could be going the other way now. It's crazy.
Adam Schefter getting wound up. A little sugar on his Wheaties this morning. Greg Sankey, SEC commissioner, adding to that entire discussion, filed an affidavit in one of the court cases, I think it's in Louisiana, speaking out against pros returning to the NCAA. He says it fuels disruption. It goes against the academic endeavor that it's been. As soon as I heard that, we have to get into this more. But I did this. I literally did this. Not in football, obviously. But can a college kid get a job and go back to college? People do that all the time. We literally encourage people to go back to college and further their education. Perhaps they need a rule. You get to bring 2 players back, or 1 or 3 or 4. I don't know what the number is. And then you don't have to cut people. The NBA's changed their roster rules all the time. They used to have 12-player rosters. And then they had 12, and they had an injured list. A guy's stashed on the injured list. So you can have 3 on the injured list, but no more because you're stashing. And then they finally just said, have a roster of 15. Stop with this injured list stuff. And they added 2-way players to go to the G League back and forth. Colleges just need to change their roster rules. I took a job as a sophomore as a part-timer at a radio station. Should that make me ineligible for college radio? No. I was still at the college radio station. And then my professional radio station went belly up because it was a bad idea and it cost a lot of money, and there was already an established station doing news and talk in the market. I'm out of college eligibility. I can't go back. I got to go to Australia now, play in the A-League with Joe Ingles. Do radio in Australia with Joe Ingles. No. If you don't like it because it's a tradition and what we're used to and you want to stick to the old rules, at least that's a coherent argument. But the whole, man, I thought Sankey got way off track there. Just, we know what we know. We like what we like. You don't want to bump people off rosters. Add a couple roster spots. You can tweak it. We've seen other leagues do it. Start acting like a pro sport. And this is where maybe conferences need to make their own rules. Because when the NCAA makes rules, then you can't do it because you got a monopoly here. It's restrained to trade. And that, I think, is why they're losing every court case. But if a conference does it, it'd be legit. I don't think at this point it's about NCAA incompetence. I think at this point it's about the Constitution. That's the issue. Not at other times that the NCAA hasn't lacked leadership and hasn't lacked vision, because they have, and they clearly got to take those hits. But I can't pile on them for every one of these court cases right now. The fact they're a national organization is working against them. I think conferences could draw up these rules pretty quickly. I was surprised, but Oklahoma coach Brent Venables agrees to a new 6-year contract, expected to average more than $10.5 million per season. I don't know if it's as bad a deal as James Harden. And Venables went to the playoff last year, but he still did it with half a team. The defense was great. The offense wasn't. I know Mateer had a thumb injury, and now he's a year older, and if he's healthier, maybe it'll go better. But man, they had a couple seasons before that were terrible. And now they are all in on Brent Venables. Okay, good for you. See how that works out. Right away when Oklahoma plays Michigan. Right away we'll find out. That could send either season headed the wrong way, given who both teams have to play later on. Which is why Indiana doesn't want to play a game like that. DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
Here it comes, and it's hit in the left center field. Well struck, and it's back towards the track, and it's gone! Over the wall! 3-run home run for Jordan Walker! His 26th of the year.
Pitch, fly ball center field. Back goes Rodriguez at the warning track. At the wall, it's gone! Garrett Mitchell goes deep, number 9, and there's your insurance run.
Here's pitch. Swung on a high fly ball. Right center field. Looking up to theirs, and there it goes. Home run for Luis Garcia Jr.'s 25th of the season, extends the lead for the Yankees to 4-1.
Yankees going to beat the Orioles 6-1. Yankees playing a little better baseball here, even though they don't have their team. Are they going to be healthy for the playoffs? Hard to believe they can do anything in the playoffs without Aaron Judge, but they're doing a nice job of staying afloat without him and with multiple injuries, and Bellinger's been out for a long time, so they're doing well. We had pitchers' duels, and we had people blowing games wide open. On the pitchers' duel side, the Braves shut out the White Sox 2-0, held Chicago to 1 hit. And that wasn't the only 2-zip one-hitter of the night. Rangers beat the Nationals 2-0 and held them to 1 hit. Move those games right along. Quick. You want a lot of runs. Cardinals beat the Reds 10-9. Cardinals 3 games over 500, kind of on the edge of the wild card race, trying to catch Arizona, San Diego, Philly. So at least they have to catch at least 2 of those 3 teams to get into the playoffs. They got a chance. There's still time. And the Angels, who are out of time and aren't going to do anything, but the Astros could, and the Astros got beat 18-3. Yikes. So they're high-scoring games of the day. Jacob DeGrom of the Rangers in that 2-0 win over the Nationals becomes the second fastest player to 2,000 strikeouts. Now that's a reflection of the fact that he came up as a position player and played as a position player in college and all that, switched to pitching in the minor leagues, came up late because of it. Because when you say he's fast, I mean, he's been around. Remember him with the Mets. He's with the Rangers now. And thinking, he can't be that young. I mean, he's in his 30s. And then thinking, yeah, I don't think he's in his early 30s either. I had to look it up. He's 38. So it's not in terms of age. It's in terms of number of games and number of innings pitched that he was the second fastest to 2,000. Because he's 38. Diamondbacks moving Marte to the 10-day injured list after his strange absence. They got to pull themselves together. That rocked them, and they had a bad series in Boston. Boston's a good team. They had a bad series anyway, but you got to think that was part of it. Kansas City Council says that $600 million for the Royals Stadium. The Royals are in for $700 million plus cost overruns, I think. So now they're going to want to get the rest of the money from the state of Missouri. And we'll see if they're motivated to hold on to that team, because the Chiefs took them and their state taxes across the state line. Are going to build a dome in Kansas in a couple of years. So we'll see what happens with the Royals. The A's stadium taking shape. If you haven't seen the photos online, they put on one of those big steel trusses. Is that the only place we use the word truss? T-R-U-S-S? I don't think it's used anywhere else. Somebody's building something if you say the word truss. Pictures are pretty cool if you haven't seen them. They've been out for a couple days now. DJ and PK.
Hashtag BYU.
Aiden trapped, and Fears got his hand to deflect it. Numbers feeds Kohler. He'll get it.
Jackson Kohler laughing at that one.
Here at East Lansing, couple of dunks. Which one do you like better? Carr got up to the rim high. Jackson Kohler, hey, you know what? I could get up too, a little.
BYU basketball fans, this is the news you've been waiting for. Who are the big men? Are they going to run a 6-foot and under team this year in the Big 12? Because that won't go very well. They need some bigs. Well, they get a commitment from Michigan State big man Jackson Kohler. So there you go, Cougar basketball fans. As for BYU football, they're starting to compile draft lists because, of course, we have a whole college season to go and an NFL season and playoffs, and there's going to be a draft next April. So let's get the draft list going. BYU players on the list, to the surprise of no one, Isaiah Glasker. Thank you, Captain Obvious. Evan Johnson, L.J. Martin, Faletau Satuala, Keanu Tanavasa, and Kedu Olave. So I don't think there's any big surprises there. Mac was just talking about, we replayed that in the last segment, about Tanavasa and how good he was looking. And I think I think off the top of your head, most of you would have listed 4 or 5 of those guys, and you're not draft experts, but you still would have figured it out. DJ and PK.
Hashtag Utah.
We can talk about this with Steve Bartle. He's coming up, covers the Utes. He's going to join us in the next segment here in a few minutes. Morgan Scalley's alumni plan aiming to make Utah football family. And they want that to be family beyond the last snap. Some of the guys have stayed close to the program. Some guys have drifted away. Morgan wants to make it way more intentional. And he wants to enlarge the efforts and the staff. And I think there's multiple reasons to do this. I think it can help you in recruiting. You keep players connected. They might see high school players, diamonds in the rough somewhere, give you a tip. That might pay off occasionally. I think that showing players the benefit of being part of the extended family, staying somewhere 4 years. We talk about this with Fafita at Arizona. He's going to be a legend there, right? What are the advantages of staying in one place and not transferring? If you're getting outbid by $250,000, $500,000, $1 million, kids are going to transfer. But if the money's relatively close, maybe they don't. And we've seen that with NFL first-round draft picks who might have been lured away by Alabama. They were able to hold on to their star tight end. So I think Morgan's looking for every edge. How often it pays off, but he wants to keep more family around the program. And he's got some ex-teammates working on that. Also, Utah sued Freddie Whittingham over breach of contract. There's a lot of stuff in there. To me, it all comes down to there was a buyout fee in there, 75% of the money he's owned for the year, and then his prorated amount because he was actually under contract for 13 months. So it comes out to about $400,000. I think if he gets his $400,000, either Freddie cuts that check or Michigan does. It says in the Trib did a nice story on it in the Salt Lake Tribune, and they said like 6 other coaches were in the same situation, and their payments have been made. So I think all the other stuff in there is noise. When the U gets their $400,000 from Michigan or Whittingham or a Michigan booster or whoever, then I think this all goes away. But I think that is the crux of the issue. DJ and PK.
Hashtag RSL.
ESPN reporting Sergey Salon's contract extension, 4.5 years, significant raise. They need to do this. He is getting paid next to nothing. He's under $100,000, and he's got 9 goals. So get him under contract and pay him. He'd like some money for sure. He's a guy who bet on himself. He grew up in Spain, came to Oregon State, played there for a year, went to UCLA for a year. Now he's drafted. I think the thinking was he was good, but he was probably going to the Monarchs so he could play a lot. But they loved what they saw in Portugal. And then Victor Olacunci had an eye, and he had to start. And had an eye injury, and he has taken that job with both hands and not letting go. Now, 4.5 years gives him a chance to get even better and for them to sell him sooner rather than later. But not right away. In 4.5 years gives you a little runway. You have a little leverage. You know, they could keep him around for a couple years and then see if they want to move him and see how he develops. But he's got 9 goals, and he's finishing a low percentage of his chances. He has a lot of opportunities. He's been in behind the back line, one-on-one with the goalkeeper, unable to score so many times. I mean, he's got 9, and that's an awesome total for a rookie. That's fantastic. But if you've watched, you're thinking, he could easily have 15. It doesn't take that much imagination. He is creating chances. I mean, he is just a nightmare for people to deal with on back lines across the league. So he talked about it a little bit in the press conference, alluded to it, no details as far as the length, but they were clearly working on a contract, and it clearly looked like it was going to get done, and he was obviously happy about it. So he'll be here for a while. MLS planning a potential major overhaul to the playoffs, double elimination reseeding, going from 18 teams to 20. Man, I think the best format is March Madness, NFL playoffs. You get in front of the TV. It's what they do in the World Cup. There's going to be a winner. There's going to be a loser. Stick around for 2 or 3 hours. There's going to be drama and action. That's the way to go. But they want more playoff games because doesn't everybody? That's why baseball just expanded their playoffs. That's why college football's expanded their playoffs, and MLS is going to do it too. The best 2 out of 3 in the first round, I don't think anybody likes that. I think it takes too long and drains the drama, and people don't like it. RSL's back in action tomorrow at Orlando City, 5:30 for the start for that pregame show at 4:30 on 97.5 The Zone. Expecting heavy rotation because there are heavy legs. Going to be a lot of new faces. I guess 11 would be the maximum number. But I think even Cabral, and it was clear from Pablo's post-game comments, even Cabral could be rotated. If he can be rotated, everyone can. He has not missed a game in a year and a half. He's gone full-on Stockton, Malone. I mean, he hasn't been traded. He hasn't gone Big T, Thurl Bailey playing 84 games in an 82-game season. But he has been an Iron Man here. I'd have to do the math on it. I guess I'd better if the streak might end. I think he's right at 60 consecutive appearances over a year and a half. All right, DJ and PK, that's what's trending. Sponsored by Shamrock Plumbing. No job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. Don't quote me on the 60. When I do math live on the radio, bad things happen. I'm usually pretty good at it, but... All right, Steve Bartle next. Jason Kreis at 8 o'clock. Kevin Graham talking NFL at 8:30. We'll talk Utes with Steve next. Stay with us.
Nobody brings you better coverage of the teams you're passionate about than these guys.
Try some more.
This is DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Covering the Utes better than anyone else. This is Ute Insider Steve Bartle of KSLSports.com on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ PK. PK's back on Monday. He'll be back next week. Little last gasp summer vacation. We're joined right now by Steve Bartle. Steve, good morning.
Morning, DJ. How we doing, man?
We're doing well. I got a couple questions for you here. A little positivity, a little negativity. Where would you like to start? A little lift up, a little positivity, or a little negativity, a little truth telling? What do you think?
I'll let you tell me where to go.
We're going to start with a positivity, an affirmation in the morning. Are you ready?
I'm ready, sir.
Of what you know, and I know very limited access to the team at this point, of what you know, the position group that you believe should give Ute fans most help, that will bring them to their feet and have Rice-Eccles Stadium rocking, that position group is?
Wide receiver. Based on what we've seen, based on what we've heard, I think there's a lot of reason to be optimistic, confident, excited if you're a Utah fan to see this group in action. I think there's a lot behind what Utah has, and Braden Pagan, who comes to Utah from Utah State, that familiarity with McGiven and the offense, I think, is just going to do a lot for him. And the chemistry that has seemingly developed with Devin Dampier, by all accounts, sounds like it's at a really good place. So I think Utah has the sort of go-to receiver in Pagan that can produce week in, week out. And then, as we've learned throughout the offseason, this is a group that has some depth. There have been some surprising guys that have developed and progressed this offseason. One in particular is Nate Johnson, who's been around the program now a few years. He's really kind of settled in to this wide receiver role, and he's helped kind of solidify the depth, give Utah another option in that room. So Utah is coming into this season feeling like they probably have 4 or 5 really solid receivers, and then the depth behind them where you can sprinkle in and have guys available for you to step up at different points throughout the season as well.
Alex is going to have to host the rest of the show because I just blacked out twice. I didn't hear most of your answer. The first time you said the strongest position was wide receiver, and I just went straight. I just faded to black. I didn't hear anything. And when I came to, you just said they're 4 or 5 deep at wide receiver, and I passed out again. That was an unexpected answer. I hope Ute fans handled that on the freeway better than I did, because that could be a dangerous situation. Wide receiver, the best. So you're grading on a curve in part because that's been, well, let's be honest, that's usually been the position group that's been least likely to bring the stadium to its feet.
Yeah, it's interesting with what Utah still has in place, at running back and at quarterback with Devin Dampier and Bird Ficklin and Wayshawn Parker, in that running back room. I think the group that is just going to get this Utah fan base really excited is, like I said, the depth and ability in that wide receiver room. They have some guys that I think can really, I don't want to say shine, but I think this offense is going to shine a brighter light on that wide receiver room, some of the ability that they have in that group, and the depth that they have in that group as well.
Well, you are echoing what Ron McBride said yesterday. He said he thought the key to that group, and he was right with you, he thought that there was unprecedented depth there, and he thought the key was bringing a new OC and bringing a position coach in, and they come from other schools. In the case of McGibbon, he brought in players from his two previous schools, both San Jose State and Utah State, and he said they're known. You know, there's relationships there. It's proven over time. They've practiced with these guys day in and day out and multiple games, and they know what they can do. There's no guessing. There's no suspecting. So, all right, I'm going to have to adjust and quit blacking out here. You and Mac are on the same page. I'm hearing the same stuff 2 days in a row. Perhaps I should trust two sources, right, Steve?
Perhaps you should, DJ. Perhaps you should.
All right. Let's go to the other side of the same coin. You know, if I want to know the position group that's most likely to bring the place to its feet, now I want to know the position group that's most likely to have Ute fans putting their head in their hands. No, I paid to watch this. What happened? Where's that most likely?
I think this entire offseason, the biggest question that I got, the most consistent question that I got was centered around the defensive tackle room, the defensive line, and stopping the run.
Yep.
And, Utah went into the transfer portal. They brought in 3 defensive tackles from the portal. 2 of them have a good quality playing experience coming from Wyoming and San Jose State. Another one from Tennessee who played at times throughout his career there. But a lot of the expectations, I think, for just what the standard is with that room and that group in particular, there's some uneasiness still around that group. And based on what we've been able to kind of take away from our viewing sessions, we just haven't been able to come away with a lot to provide any sort of valuable progress report on that group. And so, it's going into the season kind of blind and kind of uncertain. There's, and coaches and players have talked about that group has stepped up. And, there's some pieces in that room, some players in that room that garner a lot of optimism and confidence in their long-term projection, optimism around what they can be this season. But it's still going to require them to step up into roles and into playing at a certain level on a week-in, week-out basis that we just don't know where that's at with that group. So I think that is, like you said, if there's a group that could potentially bring this fan base to their knees at times, given how things went at the end of the season last year, I think that that defensive line group, specifically when we're talking about stopping the run, I think that's the big question mark and concern for Utah fans going into the season.
Of all the answers you've ever given me, Steve, I rate that the number one answer. All our conversations on the air and off the air. You hit so many key points that I want to underline and put exclamation points after. And I think you're very smart. And I've always said this. And, Alex, I'm going to say this to you now that you're producing our show a million times. Whenever you meet somebody and then they talk and then someone looks at you and they go, that person's really smart, what they mean is they agree with me. I think so-and-so is really smart. That means whatever you were talking about, doesn't matter if it's football or banking, politics, I don't know, whatever. When they say, the person walks away, that person's really smart. That means you agree with me. That's all that means. It doesn't mean anything about IQ. And I agree with what you said. And I thought you had a key phrase. What the standard has been. Everybody's here spoiled. Everybody here is spoiled. You need 2 D tackles, you need 2 D ends, except you don't, because it's an exhausting position to play. You're getting hit and beat up on by 300-pounders, and you're sprinting all the way to the sideline. You're trying to sprint upfield 10 yards. You got to turn and sprint back 15, 20 yards the other way. It's exhausting, so you have to have a third player and be able to rotate. And you get hit so much, there are going to be injuries, so you have to have a fourth player at both positions, or the coaches are privately going in the room like, what are we going to do? Because they're anticipating going 8 deep. And we all stood in front of Kyle Whittingham multiple years, and he said, we're 9 deep, we're 10 deep. One year he said, we're 12. I got 12 guys I can trust on the D-line. And that is unheard of. That is not normal. Coaching staffs all across the country are just biting their fingernails thinking who's guy 6, 7, 8 and who's guy 9, 10 just in case we really have a bad run of luck. And you don't usually know. And it is usually a massive question mark when you get deep into D-lines. And it stresses coaches out big time. And the standard here is so high. It's like, of all the things Kyle Whittingham did well, that's one of the best. The D-line was nails. Rock solid year after year. Guys coming and going didn't matter. So, brilliant answer, Steve. Spot on. I mean, the wide receiver thing shocked me. I'm not going to kid you. But the D-line thing, that was straight money right there. That was brilliant.
I appreciate that, DJ. And look, like, to your point, you do need to have depth at the position, unlike you've had before. Mm-hmm. And what's making that difficult is everybody wants depth, and everybody is willing to pay a price to have that depth. And for Utah this year, they went in, like I said, they went into the portal. They brought in 3 guys that they feel pretty optimistic about, that they felt, coming to Utah could benefit from the development plan here, especially with Steve Saunders and this new, strength and conditioning program and how it sort of changed these guys physically. I think they're obviously counting on this young group and these transfers to come into the season. And, maybe they aren't playing at a really high level week 1. Right. But this is a group that with experience, I think, can progress, week after week, month after month, and that sort of thing, where by the end of the season, it's a much different, much improved group. And you're going into next off season feeling good about this group. But as of right now, the concern is just, where's this group right now? What is it going to look like week 1, week 2, when Arkansas comes to Rice-Eccles? That's the big concern right now.
It's a normal amount of stress. I think a lot of coaching staffs have this. Utah's just been immune to it for a long time. But I think there's a lot of teams wondering, and a lot of teams, it'll be answered positively. They'll get to that depth, and guys will perform at a pretty good level, and it'll work out. But there's a lot of question marks at a lot of schools across the country. I just think that's normal at this point. And Utah's just back in a normal situation. They haven't, and it's a little uncomfortable because they've been in such a comfortable situation for so long because they've been beating the odds with their ability to recruit and develop. Yeah. I am also curious. Let's go to the other position groups. As we get a couple weeks into this, is there anybody emerging, a name people should remember at another position group like, whoa, watch out for this guy?
Yeah, a player that I've, in talking with him, I've had the opportunity to chat with him twice, and he's a transfer addition Utah brought in. That they actually recruited him originally out of high school a few years back. He ended up signing with Kentucky and then transferring to Akron. Cornerback Elijah Reed, I think is somebody that coming into this defensive secondary, Utah had the majority of this group pretty settled, right? With Jackson Benny, Nate Ritchie, Rabbit Evans, those guys in that safety room making that group. Scooby Davis at one outside corner spot, and then they had another guy in Rock Caldwell who they had penciled in that nickel spot. It was that other outside cornerback spot that was wide open. And so it was Elijah Reed, James Chenault, J.C. Hart really battling it out for that group. And, from what we've heard, we had the opportunity to speak with Reed, as a media group. He was really impressive. And I think he's the type that has the size at 6'2", 6'3". He's got long arms. He's in that mold of the long corners that Utah's had in the past, the Keith McGills, the Sean Smith, those types of corners that really play that sticky press man coverage, but have that athleticism to still be to still protect themselves vertically. And I think that is something that, as I've done more and more homework on these players, I feel like Reed is perfectly suited to step into that exact role. And so I think Reed is someone that, he's off the radar a little bit, but I think he is absolutely someone that will I don't know if he's locked in the starting role right now. I don't know. I can't say for certain, but I think he's going to be a pretty big contributor for Utah this season at that cornerback spot.
Last thing before I let you go. Fred Whittingham getting sued by the university. Reading through some of the stories, I came up with to the conclusion. There's a lot of stuff in there, but I think a lot of it is noise. I think the crux of the issue is that the university feels like they're owed about $400,000 due to the terms of, essentially the buyout for him to leave his deal with 13 months left on it. I don't know Fred's side of the story, and people don't tend to comment when there's pending litigation, so I don't know that we're going to hear his side of the story. But I thought that was the crux of it from what I read. And when either he cuts the check or Michigan Booster, whatever, however that's handled, then it goes away. It did make the point in the story that with the other assistants who moved, that's already been handled. So I don't know if Fred thinks there's something different, if there's some language in his contract or whatever. What's your understanding of that, where it stands, and how you think it's going to play out?
Yeah, that is my understanding of it all. I don't have a good sense of how it's going to play out, but as you pointed out, all of the other assistant coaches, went through that process and went the right way. They went.
Well, a lawyer somewhere had his phone cut off. He was about to cross the line. Maybe it was a judge. Just knocked him out right there. And that's it. We've heard enough of Bartle. All right. You don't have to get him back. I think we see where he was going with that. But thank him for us. There you go, Captain. All right, DJ and PK. Got to take a break right here. Coming up, 8 o'clock hour. Jason Christ will join us from Real Salt Lake. We'll hear more about Salon's contract. Got a big game coming up Tuesday in Denver with Leon in the League's Cup quarterfinals. We'll talk with Jason about that, the game on the weekend. We'll talk with Jason Christ at the top of the hour. Kevin Graham joins us at 8:30. Got some NFL preseason games going on. Time to start talking football with Kevin every week. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Utah's best coverage of the Utes, Cougars, Jazz, and Mammoth. Here we go. From the guys who have been there for all the biggest moments in Utah sports history. You're listening to DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Win big this Wednesday on the KSL Sports Zone with Win Ticket Wednesday. This week, Motley Crue with performances by Tesla and Extreme at Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater, September 21st. Tickets on sale now at LiveNation.com. Get your tickets today and listen to the KSL Sports Zone all day Wednesday for your chance to win. DJ and PK, college football fans, what are we doing? Are we really going to have players come back from the NFL and play college football? I think the answer to that is yes. Looks like the courts have opened the door. There's a judge in East Baton Rouge Parish who might rule on it, so we might have another ruling. It's crazy that the rules are being fought over and changed 2 weeks before the season. I think conferences have to step up and start making rules. I think it's been clear for a while. I don't think any rule the NCAA make is going to stand in court. I don't think it's possible. They've lost too many cases, and too often it comes down to restraint of trade, and they're a monopoly, and they can't. It's the Constitution. It's not the NCAA being incompetent at this point. There are other places where the NCAA has no clue and has been totally incompetent, and we can all go crazy about it. But not on this. I think that this is why we've heard people say conferences are going to have to take the lead and make the rules. Are we going to a place, and I know we're fighting over a playoff right now, but are we going to a place where the Big Ten and the SEC are going to expand and be massive and just have their champions play for the national title, and whatever playoff there is will exist within two big leagues? I think there's a decent chance that'll happen. Now, there could be legislation in Washington to stop it. It may take a long time for that to happen, but I can see that happening. But that's in the long run. In the short run, they've got to figure out, eligibility. And there are rules that get put in place in sports that don't match what happens to every other college student. For a long time, you couldn't pay an athlete, but you can pay a college student. College students can have jobs. Why can't athletes? Well, because they'll cheat and they'll get around the rules and they'll play payers directly. Yep. And that's where we are now. And it hasn't ruined the sport. So I don't know what to tell you. Ohio State and Notre Dame still win. The SEC is still really good. Wasn't the end of the world. Is it different? Yeah. Is it weird? Yes. Is it sustainable? Well, I'm not going to be writing the checks to sustain it. And I've also ruled Alex out. Alex has told me definitively he will not be writing those checks. So I don't know beyond the two of us who's going to write the checks, but we're out. And I know PK's out also. I mean, literally, he's out on vacation right now, and he's probably having a waffle somewhere that he wouldn't normally allow himself to have. But hey, it's vacation. Let's not count the calories on vacation, please. That's what vacation's for. So the three of us are out. It does drive me a little crazy when they start talking about athletes this way. And we know what they're getting at, but stop telling me about the fundamental principles of college sports. It has been one way for a long time. And if you like it that way and you want it to stay that way, okay, I get that. That's a good argument. If that's your argument, you want to stick with that, okay. I am up for the whole, it's going to unfairly harm high school students. You got to have rules that allow other people to make somewhat logical decisions in their life. I'm going to sign this letter, and I'm going to agree to accept this scholarship and go to this school and accept this NIL money and go to this school. And then before you ever play a game, you get the rug pulled out from under you because somebody came available from the Dolphins camp. That's a level of chaos I think we all find unacceptable. And full disclosure, I have a niece who has played college soccer, and she's been caught up in this. And there's no question, for a lot of reasons, it was great that some kids were given a fifth year during the COVID pandemic. I get that. But it came at a cost, and it jammed up freshmen. The pipeline got narrower. Promises were made and not kept. And not just to my niece, so I'm going to get on the soapbox here, but I've heard stories about her teammates too. And then when you go to another school and you start talking to coaches as a reporter, and they're like, oh, yeah, that's going on. There's still, no matter what rules we make to accommodate kids, there are only 11 kids at a time who get to play in a football game, or 11 kids at a time who play in a soccer game, or 9 plus a DH 10 in a baseball game. So you can do whatever you want with the roster and all these eligibility rules, but only so many kids can get on the field. So acknowledge that, and are you okay with it? And if you are, move on. And if you're not, make a rule. But don't ask the NCAA to make it because it's going to get slapped down in court if they make it. But I do think conferences can. And the whole thing, and there were some quotes from Sankey out there. If another college student like me can, at college radio, get an internship and then get a part-time job, why can't I come back the next year and work? It's a little different. I'm not on a team. I'm out there freelancing in life. But there's a lot of things that are available to college kids. Can we really not make them available to college athletes? Is there a deadline you need to get back by? You can bounce back and forth from the G League or whatever. I get it's weird. And if you just think it's too weird, fine. But this whole thing of amateur athletics, that was built just to keep some people out. Like, oh, you can't be a professional and play sports. You have to be an amateur. And this was all across. This was the Olympics. This was tennis. Golf at one point went through this. Well, I guess it's okay if we have pros and we play them money. It sounds so antiquated. Alex can't even stay in this conversation. He's just going to his phone. He's like, man. But it's like all these people broke free. The amateurism was rules made by people who had a lot of money who didn't need money to keep other people out so that they could win and say, I'm great, or my buddy's great. And we can push all these other people out and not let them compete. Put our hands on our hips and be disgusted. Oh, professionals for money. Oh, please. Golf, tennis, the Olympics. I know my sports history. 33 things I went through. Guess what? We started paying people. It was different. It wasn't the end of the world. And it didn't ruin everything. It didn't ruin everything that Tiger Woods was making money while he was dropping dramatic putts and chips and throwing uppercuts and running around the green. Didn't wreck it. So I'm sure we can get through this. I think some roster adjustments need to be made. If you're going to be bringing people back from cuts, and we've been tiptoeing towards this. There was a time where if you had an agent, you're out. You can't play college sports. Okay, now if you declare for the draft, you're out. You can't play college sports. And we always tiptoe across the line. All right, well, you can get an agent and you can go interview with NBA teams and work out, but there's a date and you have to drop out by then. Okay, we keep moving the bag back and it never seems to wreck everything. So I think maybe now what you need to do is here's your roster and you get X number of spots and people you can welcome back from whatever NFL or NBA camp and add to your roster. Because then you're not squeezing a freshman. You still squeeze them on playing time. We can think our way around this, people. It's possible. A little change might not wreck everything. But don't lecture me on the purity of college sports and the whole academic thing. I mean, my eyes are going to roll into the back of my head. Come on, man. All right, when we come back, Jason Christ, Real Salt Lake making changes. Players gone, players signing, big games coming up. Money to be made, money to be had. How does it get reinvested? We'll talk with Jason next. Stay with us.